In the beginning was the one presence of the undivided and unmanifest pure spirit of life, light, and love. In its generosity, it shared itself, its consciousness, and its love in the visible form of creation. We acknowledge this presence within us and as us. The creative energy of the divine feminine and masculine expressing in all our giftedness and creativity. We acknowledge this in our companion Mother Earth and in all sentient beings. This universal presence in everything we call the Christ. We light this candle as a visible reminder of the Christ presence expressing in, as, and through us in this present moment now. It is the truth. Let us own it.
Ray and I are joined today by my friend Sonja Leigh. Turn my mics on. Ray and I are joined today by my friend Sonja Leigh, and we're going to start the day off with Woke Up with My Mind Stayed on Spirit, and we hope that you did wake up with your mind staying on spirit today. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Woke up this morning with my mind
Staying on spirit.
Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind
Staying on spirit.
I woke up this morning with my mind and it was
Staying on spirit.
hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind.
Staying on spirit.
Oh, I'm walking and talking with my mind.
Staying on spirit.
I'm walking and talking with my mind.
Staying on spirit.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. What do you think about a little loving my neighbor? I'm loving my neighbor with my mind.
Staying on spirit.
Oh, I'm loving my neighbor with my mind.
Staying on spirit.
I'm loving my neighbor with my mind, and it is
Staying on spirit. Hallelujah.
hallelujah, hallelujah. Have a little
Good morning and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center online today. We are a spiritual community dedicated to co-creating joyful lives through positive thoughts, words, and actions. Today, our music ministry presents Wolpow, Diane, Leigh, and Sonja Leigh. Thank you so much for being with us today. I want to take this moment to just greet you all and know that whoever you are and wherever you might be on your spiritual journey, you're always welcome here, online, and in person when we get back to that. I'd like to start the service today by saying our 5 principles of unity. So just get centered and take a deep breath. And gently release. And say with me, please, God is good and present in all things. The holiness of God is my own true nature. I am creating my experiences by how I think. My thinking is guided by my daily affirmative prayers and affirmative actions. I follow and am sustained by these values in every way, every day. And so it is. And now, as we prepare for a time of reflection and meditation, I invite you to hold the words of this meditation hymn quietly in your heart and sing along if you know the words at home.
Deep peace of the running wave to you, deep peace of the flowing air to you, deep peace of the shining star to you, deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the gentle night to you. Moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep peace to you. Deep peace to you. Deep peace to you. Deep peace to you.
And so we relax into that energy of that deep peace. And wherever you are, be just a little more comfortable now in your chair. Allow your shoulders to fall away from your ears a little bit more. And have your feet gently and firmly on the ground. Maybe loosen your fingers a little bit and take that cleansing breath. And just sink a little bit deeper. And as you sink into this time of meditation, we take this sweet time to allow the cares of the morning to just move away, like watch them like clouds passing in your vision. These cares, just let them go. And your to-do list and your ideas for what the rest of this day will hold, just allow them to sit there on the, we'll get to that later. And allow this sweet, open, quiet space to settle into your heart and to your being. Give yourself this gift of moving into the silence. And as you see yourself stepping away from the business and the busyness and the energy of the morning, you can imagine yourself walking through a forest and hearing the birds and the squirrels in a creek, and it's the silence of nature, and seeing a temple. And what does that look like for you? This door is open and you go in, and there's a glow, and this soft light fills the sight of your inner eyes and feels warm and feels welcoming. We move into this silent place, this very sacred center of our being. And we take a breath there. And in this very center of our being, we invite in the energy of wisdom. You might even put your hands over your solar plexus, this very center of our intuitive knowing. This sacred energy area where we know beyond what might be known with our outer eyes. And while knowledge of the world is indeed sacred, we draw upon this reservoir of the knowing of our nature, of a wisdom connected to spirit, of an understanding of ourself, our being, our world, our life, our time, our place, an understanding that expands infinitely because it's connected to the transcendent good, the divine, the Holy Spirit energy. That divine wisdom center is there and always available to us. We just sink into this place of our being. We can access that. It is truly a power of who we are as a human being. It is one of the sacred energy centers that combines to allow us to be the fullness of the Christ that we are called to be. So sit with that sacred wisdom center, open to divine knowing. Welcome your intuition in the depth of your being. Spirit, bless us. Allow an inner knowing of what's ours to do, of what's ours to express, what's ours to be as we show up. And we sit with this energy in the silence for a moment, in the silence. We can go to this place of wisdom and energy and power and inner knowing by simply giving it the attention of our life, of our inner energies, of our inner eyes. And invite us to come back to this place, visit often, call upon it, bring it forth as living waters that flow through our day. And with gratitude for this inner wisdom and knowing the resource we have to ourselves, we now come back to the room. We wiggle our toes and wiggle our fingers. Maybe shrug our shoulders once. When we're ready, we open our eyes, we come back to this room, and we feel with gratitude the very power of wisdom that is ours to draw upon. And so it is.
One, 2, 3, 4.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can give that up when the darkness deep inside make you feel so small. But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show you your true colors. Your true colors are beautiful like a rainbow. Show me a smile, yeah. Don't be unhappy, can remember when I last saw you laughing. This world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear. You can call me up because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show you your true colors. True colors are beautiful like a rainbow. People get ready, there's a train coming. Don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear those diesels calling. Don't need no baggage, you just thank the Lord. People get ready for the train to Jordan, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the door and both ends. There's room for all among the love the most. People get ready, there's a train coming. Don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear those diesels calling. Don't need a ticket, you just thank the Lord. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. No, no, don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I just want to change my talk and follow that song. That is really good. Don't need a ticket. It kind of plays in, actually, to what we're going to talk about today. You know, what's so available to us at all time. You don't need a ticket. You don't have to plan. What is it that's just fully available to us? I also liked your first song about waking up with spirit, because, behind the scenes, you don't need to know, but I thought last night and this morning, and I just said, okay, Spirit, I got it. And I actually changed half my talk because of a thought I had last night. But Ray, you even said it about last week. We talked about Martin Luther King, and the title of the talk today had to do with being on a spiritual pilgrimage and how that can be part of every day. And I do want to stick with that pilgrimage theme a little bit. But I had this thought, and call it spirit, call it awakening, call it reason I did the meditation. Sometimes you get that inner knowledge of there is something else still. Martin Luther King Day maybe needs to be a month because there's so much to follow up on. And I saw this sense of a pilgrimage, and I imagined this pilgrimage with the marchers, the civil rights marchers moving down. And I was thinking of that time they were in Memphis, which led up to Martin Luther King's assassination. And why were they marching? So this is an interesting thing. Why were they marching? Well, it was the sanitation workers that were getting paid very little. And I woke up this morning and I said, I know all about the march, and I've seen the pictures of the march, and I felt inspired by the sit-in, inspired by the commitment to nonviolence, and inspired by how people stood up to the few people who did want to go to violence and said, no, this is not what we're about. And I'm so inspired, but what I don't know is whatever happened to the sanitation workers? Does anybody know? Okay, I didn't know either. I had to look it up. And here's part of what it leads into to the talk and what I wanted to say. This movement because of something on the outside and how then it influences our consciousness of raising on the inside to when we open our consciousness, we turn around and address what's in the outside, understand it differently, and bring that back in and work on the inside. And so we're working on outer knowledge, and we bring it back into inner wisdom, to which we can go back and get more in outer knowledge, and we bring it back to inner wisdom. And the inner wisdom of King said, yeah, we need to find a way to address the fact that these people were making very, very low wage, especially the African American workers, and they were really being, it was just an unfair and unjust system to their pay. And actually, after the march, so I did look it up on Google, power of Google. They did get the raise, a little bit of raise. They were promised a raise. Turns out that months later, they never got it, and they had to threaten another strike to finally push it over the edge till finally there was a raise that was given for that particular time. And we're still, 60 years later, dealing with fair wages and looking at systems and justice. But what lasted through all that was not only the outer knowledge and the outer problem solving, which was important and which was necessary to look at there as an issue, how do we deal with it? But King dealt with it from this higher level of consciousness that said, I'm not going to just go get them a wage. I'm going to talk about a larger picture about the dignity of the human person. I'm going to take that little outer problem and I'm going to go into the inner wisdom and connect with spirit and find a much broader, bigger solution. No. Much broader and bigger approach, lifestyle, energy, and we've been talking about this for all the people on the Untethered Soul work, how we change our thoughts, and when we do that, we release amazing amounts of energy that we can address and live into the mysteries of the world and the issues of the world and what's going on in the world, and we see them in a much broader perspective. And then we can add in a whole new way of addressing the problem. I mean, they could have gone up, they could have done a letter writing campaign, they could have done a lot of things that were very practical, and those wouldn't have been wrong or unimportant. But they saw a way to address it in a huge way that said, we need not only to get raises for these people, but we need to see at a root level that we need to open our consciousness of nonviolence and peace that opens up this whole area of consciousness that might open a nation's consciousness, indeed world consciousness. And it happened. And it happened because they leaned into spirit and moved out into this broader way. And so this interplay between, what's the apparent problem of the world, and then said, well, let's address it not only in simply problem-solving mode, although if you're good at solving problems, I want you on my team because that's a skill, right? So it's not only just solving the problem, but it's bringing it to higher consciousness in spirit, and then opening to what all possibilities of looking at this journey of life that's unfolding, because life changes. And you can solve a problem, there'll be another problem. And you solve another problem and a life problem. Because that's just, well, it's the nature of the world. It's the nature of life. There's this movement, and things keep changing. And so that's pretty grandiose. But I thought even, and I said, well, how does that apply to even the practical stuff of our life? And I thought of an instance like, you're in the living room and a piece of furniture is broken. And you think, okay, well, I can, get the wood and get some glue and get the clay, I can fix that and I can do all this. But that's like, it's a problem, I got to fix it, which is fine. And that's, God knows that's a good skill. But what if also, and we bring it into the sense of a deeper wisdom that has us stand back and look at that and say, well, wait a second. I didn't really like that piece of furniture anyhow. And we wanted to do something different. And we were talking about different colors and a different feel and a different use of our living room to which that piece of furniture never really supported. And we want to move past, the function of this place being for this, but we wanted to be more for community. We had different people coming. We wanted a color that was more inspiring. And so instead of just solving the problem, let's fix the furniture, taking that broader view might say, well, maybe we're going to give that away and do something totally different. I mean, a very simple example, but that's the kind of day-to-day simple stuff where we say we want to solve problems, but let's put them in the context of an intuition and a consciousness that just doesn't say problem, fix it, follow that problem, but rather says, okay, here's an issue, okay, I'm just going to let that go. That's just a thought. I got to fix that problem the way I think I need to fix it, and when this happens, that happens. That's just a thought. That can just pass by, and I can stand back and be more in the present, allow, like your song, Spirit, day to day to come in and inspire us to say, okay, take a breath. Don't just jump in and just solve problems, but how is this an opportunity for expansion? How is this an opportunity for perhaps something bigger? Something more profound? Something that has a higher purpose, that this outer episode inspired me inner to go out in a different consciousness to do something that not only addressed the problem, but even more, that allowed even something greater, just like King did with the sanitation workers, just like we can do with the furniture in our living room. It's the same principle that goes on. There's this little snippet, and the Jesus seminar people feel like this is really Jesus stuff, right? Because it's short, it's simple, and it's profound. And you find it in Luke, and you find it in Matthew, the Gospels, even in Thomas. And it says, the reign of God, or the reign of divine consciousness, however you want to say it, the imperial rule of the divine is like a woman who took some leaven and put it in 50 pounds of wheat until the whole batch was leavened. That's it. I mean, it's like taking this little, and there's two pieces of this that I want to explore. Taking this little bit of a new level of consciousness and putting it in what might seem a lot, 50 pounds of wheat, that's a lot. That's like, I can't lift a 50-pound bag anymore. And I mean, that's a lot. But this little bit of leaven, it just changes the whole thing. A little bit of awakened consciousness changes the whole thing. A little bit of let me take a new perspective and mix it in and see how that solution can change. And that 50 pounds of wheat just, it just expands tremendously. A beautiful example. And the other piece was, it was really interesting because he was playing with an idea that at the time, the metaphor for leaven was not positive, because his beautiful symbology of the Passover had unleavened bread. Let's make it simple so we can go. So he took a metaphor for, at the time, was understood to be one way, and he said, well, let's be willing to change metaphors for this example and see it as something different. It can be this, it can be that, it can be both and. We can open and expand our consciousness to see other ways of looking at things that at first we thought, well, that's opposite, but why not expand? Why not open? Why not try to expand our wisdom and see other ways, metaphors, other ways things can be played with? Just try that. Anyhow, so little bitty piece that says so much. But I do want to stick with this theme of the pilgrimage too, because as we move through life and we move through the outer and it expands our inner. And I want to tell you a story. Now I've never heard this story, because I was in a little town called Rickie. It's in Venezuela. And Rickie is, imagine, the state of Lara, which is pretty small outside of Maracaibo. And there's a big town called Barquisimeto. And way outside that town, there's a little bitty town called Corora. And then way outside of that town, there's a itty bitty town called Rickie. And when you get to this little town of Rickie, there's a ginormous cathedral. What is this cathedral doing in the middle of this goat town? And the story that I know, only because I've seen paintings of it, never heard it, just saw it described in paintings on the cathedral wall, was that there was a gentleman, I imagine the way he's depicted, wealthy merchant, and he's in a shipwreck off of Maracaibo. And as the ship sinks, he pleads out to what they call the Virgen de Chiquinquirá, this image of this divine feminine who's holding a Christ child, and it's well known throughout South America in different places. And he knew about this apparition, this symbology of this sacred divine. And so he screams out, "Virgin of Chiquinquirá, if you save me from drowning, I will build you a cathedral." And he's way out in the middle of the ocean. The ship is floundering, and he just passes out, wakes up on the shore. And he's saved, and there's, the jetsam and flotsam, all the shipwreck stuff all over the place. And he's laying there, and he says, I'll build you a cathedral right here. And apparently, as you read the pictures, this apparition shows up to him and says, "Shoot an arrow, and where I take it to, that's where I want my cathedral, not here on the beach." And somehow he's got a bow and arrow laying there. So he picks up this arrow, and pew, he shoots the arrow into the air, and it just takes off. And so this guy, I don't even know his name, I just know this picture of him. And you see this picture, he's this wealthy dressed merchant. But as the pictures go on, he becomes simpler and more humble. And you see him meeting people along the way. And he walks into villages and he says, "Hi, have you seen my arrow? I was drowning. I talked to this sacred divine feminine, and she said, shoot an arrow, and I'm looking for the arrow." And they all said, "Wow, that's a great story. Come in and have food with us and tell us more about your story. We'll tell you about our story." And as he journeyed on this pilgrimage to find the arrow somewhere in Venezuela, this mysterious arrow, he started meeting people. And they took him in, and they heard his story. And he, this sort of aloof, wealthy merchant, apparently from the things, it seems like he's aloof. He started, because of what was going on in his consciousness about this apparition, he changed how he met people. His inner life had changed because of this miracle, and so his attitude towards others changed, and their attitude of warmth and hospitality and love and care and interest in him in turn changed his inner world, and his inner world then changed even more, and he knew more people, and he'd get that response and it changed back, and he had this outer back into the inner, back into the outer, back into the inner, and he traveled, and finally he reached towards the end of his life, he almost was ready to give up. And he comes into this little place way out in the middle of the nowhere, and they went, "Oh, that's your arrow." He's like, "Where is it?" So he goes way out in the middle of the desert, this place now called Rickie, and there's the arrow sticking in the ground. And he goes, "Folks, we're building a cathedral here." So he started telling people his story and fundraising and getting people to come out. And now there's this really ginormous cathedral out in the middle of nowhere. And it's fun, all the stories that people come out, and he put this beautiful portrait of this Virgen de Chiquinquirá in there. And people said, "This isn't supposed to be here. No way would God want this to be a sacred place." And the stories go like they try to take the picture, and they would try to cross the river, and a flood would come up and wipe out the bridge, and they'd have to go back. And there's all these stories of like, no, this is the sacred place. And pilgrims would come every year, and a lot of people who lived out in the middle of the farms in the mountains, they'd come down, and everybody get married, and they'd have celebrations and all these sacred events. And it all happened in this one place where they had to build these pilgrimage homes. They were these large rooms like this big, and there'd be pillars like this one, and they'd have hooks, and I never knew what those hooks were for. And then I realized, everyone comes with a hammock, and you hook on the pillar and the wall, and the pillar and the wall, and they'd be like circles and circles and circles of hammocks, because the pilgrimage would just show up kind of like you get on the train. They didn't have much. They had a hammock. That's it. They'd show up at this pilgrimage, and they'd sit there. But that was only for 2 weeks of the year. The rest of the year, there were these huge pilgrim centers that were empty. And so we built a house for orphan kids there. And that's why I was there in Rickie with these children. So this pilgrimage, this movement through life of this man, whose name I don't even know, who had an inner awakening to the divine and was open to sharing that inner intuition and hearing back from others and sharing, inspired him to build a cathedral, which you could say all these beautiful things happened, but the least of which, how could he ever know that 100 years later, that hundreds and hundreds of children would have a home to live because of the pilgrim house that he built? All because he connected and followed that inner intuitive wisdom and followed it along. Despite how ludicrous or crazy it might have seemed, yeah, you're looking for an arrow. Sounds good, buddy. And yet he did. And he followed that inner story until there it was. Is that truth, legend, what? I'm telling you, it was. If you go to the cathedral of Chiquinquirá, where the big painting is that they put of this apparition, just in painting, there's the story I'm telling you around the side. That's the only way I know of it. But what a fabulous sort of unfolding of the journey. And and I mentioned in the Untethered Soul that we're speaking, we talk about looking at our thoughts. And last week we talked about the wolf thoughts, how to just see those and let those go and open ourselves up to allow in this openness so that spirit can move through us, so that some inner knowing, this inner wisdom, this inner understanding can dominate what it is we want to be looking at. And we can follow that energy and that, that juice, instead of like all the other crazy thoughts that tell us do this, do that, even if what the inner knowing is saying might seem a little odd or unpractical, or you can't start a march and all of a sudden have 25,000 people show up and talk about rights for sanitation workers and change the world. Can you? And you can. But it takes that inner knowing and that courage. So this is the pilgrimage. The fun thing about a pilgrimage, like the man on the pilgrimage and all the pilgrims that came later, it's just walking into life, daily life, of like the outer knowing is good. I see problems, apparent problems, but I can keep taking it back to an inner wisdom that has different kinds of next steps than we might discover if we only sit there in the outer world of problem solve, problem solve, problem solve. Allow it to flow into inner wisdom and then back out to dealing in the world and dealing in love and compassion and a new level of wisdom, even in the most practical ways. And allow that to come back in and allow that to go out again and stay in that posture of sharing wisdom and knowledge. There's a piece I want to end this talk with. So we've gone to Venezuela, to ancient Middle East, to Jesus' words, to Memphis, Tennessee, and now I want to talk about ancient China. So we'll do a little jumping around the world and time here. Because this wisdom, these insights, are so transcendent in time and place. This comes from the Tao Te Ching, and it's the 33rd verse. And it says, one who understands others has knowledge, and one who understands himself has wisdom. And by the way, you think of Charles Fillmore and the 12 powers. Wisdom is one of those internal 12 powers. Mastering others requires force. Mastering ourselves, we need strength. And again, strength, one of the 12 powers, the internal 12 powers. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you realize that you already have enough, you are truly rich. One who gives themselves to their position, they live long. But one who gives themselves to the Tao, to the way, or maybe to the imperial rule of the divine, they surely live forever. And so I leave you with this suggestion for our week, is to look at a time, any time this week where you go, well, here's a problem to be solved. And indeed, there are problems to be solved, but let's look at that as only one half of the story. The problem to be solved out there, but allow the inner wisdom to take a look at it and see if we can't see that through a new lens and a new energy and go, it may be a problem to be solved. It's also an invitation to look through a lens of the broader ideals of what's possible for our good, for our unfolding, for our transformation. And then take from that inner wisdom, move back out to the outer world, and take a look at what once seemed a problem and see if we can't see it through new eyes with new allowances for a new and maybe transformative way of approaching. And know that with Spirit behind you, man, amazing things happen. Not could happen. Amazing things happen. So we can do this. Let's do this. Okay, peace and good, everyone. And just saying, everyone, I miss you. You're not here, but we're safe. We're at home. This Omicron is pretty difficult right now. It's challenging to the community, to the hospitals, to the medical system, and just to care for each other. So we'll see you soon. But for now, thanks for joining online, and amen.
Test. Whatever your spiritual pilgrimage, may nothing turn you around. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ain't gonna let nobody
Turn me round, turn me round, turn me round,
gonna let nobody
turn me round.
gonna keep on walking, keep on talking,
Gonna build a brand new world. Turn me around, turn me around.
gonna keep on walking, keep on talking,
Gonna build a brand new world.
Let's talk a little about misfortune. Ain't gonna let misfortune
Turn me round, turn me round, turn me
Ain't
round.
gonna let misfortune
Turn me
I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking,
Gonna build a brand new world. Turn me around, turn me around.
Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking,
Gonna build a brand new world.
Let's talk about oppression, folks. Let's sing about it. Ain't gonna let oppression
Turn me round, turn me round, turn me round.
Ain't gonna let oppression
Turn me
round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking,
Gonna build a brand new world. Turn me around, turn me around.
Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking,
Gonna build a brand new world.
I heard you talk a little bit about injustice, so we're gonna sing about that one now. Ain't gonna let injustice
Turn me
round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, gonna build a brand new world.
Turn me around, turn me around.
Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking,
Gonna
build a brand
new world. A brand new world. A brand new world. A brand new world.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. And this is the time in our service where we consider our gifts. What kind of world will you bring into your life with the gifts that you offer to this ministry? So today, since you're at home, I invite you to please go to our website, www.unitybellingham.org, and you can hit the donate button and consider your gift carefully, knowing that you are building not only the world of unity here in Bellingham, but your own world, your world of prosperity and goodwill. So as you take your offering to your heart, affirm to yourself, I give freely and joyfully, for God is my source, and I have abundance in all areas of my life. And join me in saying together our love offering. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
We're going to do a tune called Gifts of the Spirit, and here are your lyrics. These are the gifts of the Spirit: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to receive? Love, joy, and peace. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. These are the gifts of the Spirit: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to receive? Gifts of the Spirit, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to receive? Love, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready to receive? These are the gifts of the Spirit: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to receive? All the gifts of the Spirit: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the Spirit, are you ready to receive? Love, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Are you ready to receive?
Were you looking for an answer? Yes.
Yes. Just say yes.
Thanks. I want to just drive around all day and listen to your music today. It's so fun and so meaningful too, and so apropos for our time. So thank you everyone for the gifts, and we with gratitude we offer them for the work of the ministry and the mission of Unity of Bellingham, for the work we do in the city and the greater Whatcom County and the whole area, and for Unity worldwide. So for all of them, we say thank you. Just a couple of announcements. Next week, the licensed Unity teacher Connie Monroe will be here, and it'll be really good. Connie might talk more about a class that she's getting ready to give through Lent, and I'll let her talk about that. But if you haven't heard Connie Monroe speak, I have someone who's listened to a lot of teachers talk about unity and unity teachings and unity principles, and she just has such, I just so look forward to hearing her, because she has such a clarity and clearness and preciseness. So you're in for a treat. So next week, tune in for Connie. We'll be closed again next week for sure, and letting this peak of this Omicron die down. But Connie will be here, and so welcome to tune in. I just got such a kick out of this. This is a greetings of the season card that we got, and we got a tithe check from our friends in Seattle Unity. And they say to us, hi, enclosed is a tithe to support Unity of Bellingham and your mission and your community. Thank you for truth teachings that you all embody and grow in consciousness. We bless you in your continued growth and work in the greater community abundant blessings for 2022 in loving gratitude, Reverend Karen, Diane Robertson, Seattle Unity Community. So this is really, we shared this at the board. I was really touched by, our friends, fellow Unity members just down the road, I guess, south, and just sending a tithe to us. And it was beautiful to receive, and just the sense of encouraging consciousness and how we encourage consciousness, raising each other, and the mission of unity and the good things that are happening all throughout the region. So thank you, anyone from Seattle Unity who happens to be on. And finally, the classes were, the one big class we have going on is Untethered Soul, and we're just moving them for the next few weeks to Zoom. We'll send out an email to everyone to give you a link. So same time, same place as always. One of the classes was already Zoom, but then the Wednesday night and Thursday morning, we're moving to Zoom. If you're listening to this, and that's going to be a problem, we have some solutions if, for whatever reason, getting on Zoom at home is challenging. So give Janae a call in the office or me a call on Monday, and we can talk through some of the problem solving for how to ensure that everybody who wants to be in the class can continue to make it for the next few weeks while the building is closed. I think our Monday morning is not happening. That's correct, Jonathan. So we're postponing the spiritual conversations for a few weeks, which is, I know, darn, it was so much fun and so many good things happened, but we'll get back to it. We're going to, for now, be realistic about what's going on with the Omicron and just be safe and come out the other end excited to be together again. Okay. I think that's it for announcements. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, and what a nice surprise to get that letter from Seattle Unity. Talk about the gifts of the Spirit. It does come around. Thank you. So we are at that point of our service where we're going to say together our prayer for protection. And we do include all of you everywhere and everyone else everywhere else. So say together with me, please, our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. And so we thank you again for being with us today online, and we look forward to knowing that you are back with us next week online. And we wish you a week filled with peace, love, and joy. Thank you so much. And now, if you'd like to just stand up at home, just stand up right now, and let's sing together our peace song.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternal.